welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. Today I am reviewing The Wind Through the Keyhole. This is Dark Tower 4.5 by Stephen King. There will be no spoilers in this review. And Dark Tower 4.5 is what Stephen King himself calls it. It is a book that he wrote after he completed the 7 books of the Dark Tower series, but it fits chronologically after book 4 and before book 5, hence 4.5. And it's a slim little volume, a wonderful little book that I enjoyed tremendously. It is a story within a story within a story, like nesting dolls. And as with nesting dolls, there is a resemblance between the stories as well, in the sense that they are very much connected through the themes and the symbols that run through them. There is an outer frame, which is picking up from Wizard and Glass, the frame narrative of Wizard and Glass, where Roland and his quartet are still on their way to the Dark Tower. And there is an introduction in this frame, this outer frame, to a thing called a Stark Blast. And that is something I hope I will never meet myself in real life or anything even resembling it. There's a lot of tension that King achieves quite brilliantly through this Stark Blast. And it is also a wonderful setup for the storytelling that will occur, that will take up the majority of the book. The middle layer is The Skin Man. And this is a tale of Roland's youth that follows from the inner tale of Wizard and Glass. In other words, Roland has grown up a little bit from the young Roland that we saw in Wizard and Glass. And he is still living with the reverberations of the trauma that was inflicted upon him in that book, in Wizard and Glass. And he must also confront yet another horror in this middle layer, the Skin Man. So it's actually a pretty gruesome tale, but it also introduces some very memorable characters such as Jamie DeCurry, another one of Roland's young friends. And I've really enjoyed meeting the young friends like Elaine and Cuthbert and Jamie just as much as those previous ones. And if anything, Jamie is more silent than Roland himself. So, wonderful character. We also meet Bill, who is a boy in whom Roland sees his lost innocence. It's a harsh world that poor little Bill and Roland are negotiating here. One that is most certainly in the process of moving on. But this is a world that can still be elevated by acts of compassion. And that is something we see even in this horror-filled tale, The Skin Man. And then there is the inner story, the story within a story within a story. And this is The Wind Through the Keyhole. It is a tale told within the Skin Man. And it is like drifting into a folk tale. But it is also very much colored as a Dark Tower tale as well, with its particular lingo and its oddities, its bizarreness, its mixture of Western and fantasy and horror and all of that, and even science fiction. It's all in there. It's really quite tremendous what King is doing in here. It is, of course, a tale of long ago, before your grandfather's grandfather was born. But it is also very much relevant to the present of the story. And it has its Arthurian overtones. And it has, I would say, of all the Dark Tower tales so far, it is the most Arthurian, and it is the most mystical and fantasy-like, about as mystical as Dark Tower gets, in the most whimsical and wonderful way. It is a tale that I thoroughly enjoyed. And we meet yet another boy here in The Wind Through the Keyhole named Tim. And Tim must find the courage to confront the demons that he encounters, both those that are in human form and those in a monstrous form, and also those that drip magic, like the Covenant Man. And again, I would say that compassion proves to be the key to the tale in The Wind Through the Keyhole. So these themes I've already been alluding to a little bit here are what tie these three tales together and make them a wonderful part of the Dark Tower series. And I mentioned compassion. Compassion is a big one. There's also boyhood, though, and innocence. And you can imagine how boyhood and innocence would give occasion to acts of compassion. But also, it would be a tale in which you have the process of growing up, of confronting a darker world than the innocence of youth might have at first thought existed. So, and within these tales of boyhood, you have sons and fathers, and even more importantly, sons and mothers. The mother and son relationship is something that comes up in a very important way. And you have the feeling that the mother-son relationships that take place within the tale, are very relevant to the outer tale as well. Because Tim's relationship with his mother is most certainly a reflection, in a way, of Roland's relationship with his mother. And enough said about that. But there's also a lot in there about death and about quests and the connections that we all have to one another and just the vastness of life. And in that light, I'd like to read a passage from the book, which is just, it was something that I had to read multiple times because in its context and also by itself, it just struck me with its beauty and its sense of wonder and awe. And just this beautiful passage here. I just would like to read it for you here. So here we go. Time is a keyhole, he thought as he looked up at the stars. Yes, I think so. We sometimes bend and peer through it. And the wind we feel on our cheeks when we do, the wind that blows through the keyhole, is the breath of all the living universe. And there in that passage we have the innocence and we also have the vastness that is this book, The Wind Through the Keyhole. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This has helped to solidify my love for the Dark Tower series, and I am so excited to finish this series, moving on to book 5 very soon. So that's it for me for now. Until next time.